Because of your cultural outreach throughout your career, you've been embraced by Pakistani nationals, even performed for the president. So how did your music take you to Pakistan?
I was in the recording studio in Los Angeles, finishing up my third album with Rich Balmer, and there was a massive earthquake in Pakistan. So my husband and his family is in Pakistan. His sister, his parents were at the time, his brother and their kids, and it was a horrifying earthquake. 56,000 people died. It was really, really bad. And so Rafe, my husband's a doctor, and he said, I'm going to help with the relief fund. They were helping to bring stuff for braces and whatnot from the orthopedics in Boston. And so he was going, and I said, I'm coming too. And he was like, oh, well, how can you help us? And I said, I'm going to sing. And so I looked, they were having a charity event, a really large scale fundraising event in Lahore, Pakistan, at the same time he was going. So it was very serendipitous. It was this world festival. And so I went and I performed the music that I was writing in the studio at the time. And it was, more about the connection and fundraising. And then I aligned with a few brands at that time to help raise more funds for northern Pakistan, which was where the earthquake had been. And then we went to northern Pakistan, like Lahore is here, and then Islamabad, and then the northern part. And so so it was an incredibly impactful event, and Rafe was really the reason why I went in the first place, and I was so glad to. We had kind of learned all of these things about how music can bring people together. And at that time, 2013, Pakistan was very divided, and there was a lot of bloodshed, and there was barriers over everything, and it was really in a really difficult place. And we asked Anwar Maqsood, who's the most famous lyricist in Pakistan. He's like the Shakespeare of Pakistan. We said, would you like to write a song with us that talks about the wonderful pieces of Pakistan and all of the wonderful parts of the different regions, and to help celebrate the unity of Pakistan rather than all of the disunity, like to celebrate the wonderful parts. And so he wrote these amazing lyrics. And we also worked with Ashud Mahmood, he runs the largest music school in Pakistan, and it's Eastern music, and he plays the tabla, and so he helped to write the arrangement of the song. And then we brought it to my producers in LA and to Berklee School of Music players to give it a more of a fusion, basically, a Western and Eastern. And at that time, we filmed local musicians playing the erhu and the tabla, and the local musicians in the villages were also on the album. So they played on the song too. It fused in. And then on August 13th, it's like their 4th of July. We released the song, honestly, not knowing what was, we're just going to release the song and hopefully people like it, or if they don't, it'll pass by, and they loved it. They loved his lyrics. It was just the right time and the right message. And so I started performing it everywhere. And it was really a wonderful, it has been, I think, when I look back on my life, that's going to be the thing that I feel like is most meaningful to me.
Yeah, I think that's great. A time of need, really, the sort of lyrics of hope and unity. The pretty much says it all for itself, doesn't it, really? So you have released songs in Urdu. Can you speak the language fluently, or is it something did you just learn what you needed to learn for the song?
जी थोड़ी सी उर्दू में बोल रही हूँ, थोड़ी सी खराब उर्दू में बोल रही हूँ. I
There we go.
learned enough to get by,
Yeah.
enough to speak with our relatives, and not anymore, unfortunately. So if you are teaching a cool class on economics in Urdu, I am going to get 7 words, and that's as far as I can go. But I do, I do okay. But also Rafi was in the recording studio to make sure to honor Anwar Maqsood's lyrics. And also I've been doing different khawalis and ghazals, which are, I also don't want to get the inflection wrong, because you were talking about. So I always ask him.
Yeah, I suppose that's quite the tricky thing about different languages is getting the right pronunciation, especially if you're releasing a song. It's sort of that fear, isn't it? Like you can sing something that sounds great, but if it's not right, people will pick you out on that.
That's right. And I have found the Pakistani audience to be very forgiving and very, loving in that way. They kind of just like the sentiment. They appreciate it, which I love. But I also want to respect the authors and the writers and the musicians and the original poet.
I was just going to say, actually, it is like poetry, isn't it? You sort of want to try and capture that essence.
Well, the Urdu poetry has such a history too. Anwar Maqsood says the most beautiful things, but it had also been very subversive. So he will say things to government that only he can say because he's so damn funny, and you can't not love it. So he makes fun of corruption. He makes fun of the leaders. He speaks truth to power in ways that's incredibly effective because he is so funny. And people love to laugh that, and they go, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Wow, that's some confidence there.
Yes.
Imagine like the first time you told a joke or something or said anything against them, you'd be like, oh, scary. It's good that they received it so well.
It's courageous. He is 82 now. He has been doing it his entire lifetime. And in Pakistan before, they used to switch out leaders. They'd have a coup every, 6 months, 8 months, 2 years. So he has been through every different kind of leadership. And he and just sitting with him in the living room, hearing about the stories of martial law, hearing the stories about like socialism, it's really amazing. Amazing.
Some fantastic stories there. I bet there's a load of life lessons from there as well, isn't there? Like so much he can sort of give as advice, and especially with the years that he is now,
yes, he did. His truth to power has always had honesty to it, and people really have loved that. And he writes dramas, he writes the dramas, he writes comedies, he writes plays, but I don't think any books yet.
All right, there you go. Maybe propose the idea, life lesson.
Yes, we needed your